Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
What's up, everyone? Happy Thursday. It's June 5th.
Fuck is that?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you got some weird noises going on.
Yes. Yeah, ET contact confirmed. Okay, they're trying to contact me. But no, what's up, guys? Coming to you live from Dancing Elephant Bookstore, Florida's #1 metaphysical book and crystal store. And we're here with Mitch Kumstein.
Kumstein, damn it.
Mitch Kumstein. And we're continuing our Thursday night series of reviewing, breaking down esoteric Florida movies. Florida movies in general, but breaking down the esoteric symbolism, talking about the conspiracy theories involved in them. And tonight we're talking about Flight of the Navigator. Okay. Flight of the Navigator. I never even heard of this movie before. And then my friend Brandon, shout out Brandon if he's in the chat, he sent this to me and said, hey, you got to review this one. It's a Florida movie. Totally didn't catch it. Wasn't on my radar at all. So,
Nope.
But then looked into it, and it is super, super jam-packed with dark, creepy rabbit holes. Some kind of goofy Disney stuff, but it's a Disney movie. Should say that to start off. It's a Disney movie. And it's set and filmed in Florida. So it's set and filmed. That's what we've been doing. We've been talking about movies that are either set or filmed or both in Florida. And yeah, this one's from 1986. And it's kind of like a knockoff response to E.T.
I don't know if I'd go that far, bro.
They're surfing the wave that E.T. caused. That's how I see that.
Yeah,
but what do you,
E.T. was 1982.
What do you think, Juan? What's your any background with the movie?
No, dude. The first time I heard about it was on one of the live streams we did, and had no clue about it at all. Watched it for the first time today, and I'll be honest. I mean, I enjoyed the premise of it, right? Where it's like wormhole travel. Spoiler alerts, by the way. Right, the kid goes interdimensional. What is that? Is that what kind of vape is that, bro? The kid goes interdimensional, which I thought was cool. But this is another one of those movies where a lot of people keep bringing up one of the particular things, and well, I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about it because you said there's more. Pee Wee Herman is the voice of the ship at one point. He does the ship turns a little gay after it scans the boy's brain. But yeah, I hadn't seen it, but I enjoyed like the first half of it. And then the second half where he's just like flying around, that really didn't intrigue me too much. But I hadn't heard about it until a couple weeks ago. This was my first time seeing it. I did see E.T. a bunch of times though growing up, but not this movie. And apparently it's like a cult classic, you know what they say. It's got a big following and people grew up with this movie. But again, I'm just now hearing about it. So I enjoyed it. And I found a couple of things that were sus. Some things that were deleted from the movie, by the way, that were also sus. And again, What are your thoughts on, because Florida is a UFO hotspot, you know, in of the states. There are a lot of UFO sightings here. I sent you that one article where people saw some red orb or something or other while the sun was still out. Let me pull that up here in a little bit. The
Broad
orb
daylight. Yeah.
in broad daylight. Yeah, I'm gonna send it to my email so I can pull it up
And
on screen.
yeah, great point, one. Before we get too deep in it, we gotta say this is like a sci-fi movie, not necessarily an alien movie, kind of a little bit, but
Eh,
it's mostly like a UFO, NASA secret space program, Black Ops, secrecy type movie, right? And it's about, I guess, what you could call an alien abduction. And it's kind of a kids movie, right? It's pretty much a kids movie. It's a Disney movie. Although there is some kind of dated language, okay? The R word is used
yeah.
early on. Like the first line in the movie, they call each other dumbass and retard or something like that.
Yeah, retard.
And, but yeah, it's an 80s movie, sci fi. Apparently, it was the first or one of the first movies to successfully and convincingly use CGI.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, when you look at some of the special effects in this movie, it's kind of impressive. There's a lot of movies that came after this that look terrible, right?
Yeah.
Terrible. And
The ship
yeah,
was actually the inspiration for, is it Spielberg that did Terminator? You know, the morphing uh and is it Judgment Day 2 or something like that?
I don't remember.
Terminator, the morphing foe enemy. Yeah, let me pull it up. Yeah, Terminator 2, 1991. T-1000. That guy that like morphs through the
Right,
walls. This guy right here, that ship was actually the inspiration for this, you know, the way he was able to form out of metal and
right.
stuff like that.
Yeah, it's kind of got that Silver Surfer thing
Yes.
going on.
Yes. So it was actually the inspiration for this particular character. I was looking some stuff up on the, you know, lesser known things about the creation of the movie and fun facts and stuff, and that was one of them. And the ship is actually, it might still be around. I have to confirm, but they took the prop and they put it in one of the Disney parks. But they
Mhm.
completely redid it. They painted it and made it into an actual ship. I don't know if it's still there, but I believe it's Magic Kingdom if I was looking right. Let me find the
Yeah. Now we're gonna go through the movie chronologically, from front to finish. But there's a lot of Florida rabbit holes that the movie is directly referencing. One of them being the Crestview Elementary School UFO sighting, which is one of the most corroborated, verified UFO sightings in American history. This happened in like the 60s, I believe, mid 60s or something, in Miami. Now we're going to get to it, but that's part of the inspiration for this. Part of the reason why they chose South Florida. This was fresh on people's memories. And then also, of course, NASA being headquartered in Florida. I think they're headquartered. They launched from Florida for sure. But this is, like I said, this is very much a NASA movie. NASA. Not so much a UFO space movie, right?
DC, but close enough.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's just kind of get into it from the beginning. Like I said, there's some crazy, crazy rabbit holes, some sinister stuff, and then some things off the screen that happened. For example, the main character going through a pretty rough patch in his life.
Oh
I,
yeah.
th- I think we're going to see that he was a bit of a discarded, Disney child, right? Like, who knows what type of damage they did to him when he was a young kid.
Yeah.
That's not that that's where my mind is always, thinking about, but when it's a Disney movie and this kid's having a lot of trouble later on in his life, you kind of have to put two and two together.
Yeah, you see the
right?
pattern over and over again. I mean, look at that guy, what's his name, Orlando something from That's So Raven, where he's just going on a tear all the time, and he's obviously not all there, but
Yeah.
it's all those years of probably. I mean, look at the whole Nickelodeon thing that came out. Nickelodeon, another one of those things
Yep.
that's child oriented. We grew up on all those shows, and then it turns out behind closed doors what they were doing to Amanda Bynes and the rest of the crew.
Amanda Bynes, yep. She is fried. They
Dude.
ruined her brain, dude.
100%. So Disney is not far from that, and it's you see the pattern over and over again. And I did see that this particular actor had a little bit of a rough patch recently, less than 10 years ago, where he got into some stuff. But
yeah,
does July 4th have any significance? What's the astrological significance behind July 4th? Is there anything there?
yeah, good point. Because the movie starts off July 4th. It's a key date in the movie. I don't know in terms of anything deeper beyond just American history, Independence Day. I know that America is a Cancerian nation. Cancer, ruled by the sign Cancer. That's why we're rather conservative, believe it or not, despite what people tell you. Very religious. Jupiter, the planet Jupiter, exalts in Cancer. The word conservative comes from Cancer, right? The elephant is a Jupiterian animal, big, big, big animal. Jupiter's the big, big, big planet. Don't worry, we're not talking about NASA, fake CGI. Speaking of CGI at NASA, what are the odds that this movie is like a big collaboration with NASA and the first movie to bring out CGI? One of the first. I know you're not a flat Earth guy, Juan, but NASA definitely is CGIing things they don't need to be CGIing. They're pretty good at CGI. NASA has some CGI specialists who have even admitted to making the Earth pictures that NASA tells us are just regular old pictures from space. There's this guy, I think his name is Dan Simmons or something like that. I forget. Got to look that up.
This is interesting because, yes, I understand.
No, not Dan Simmons. Sorry.
The Dan Simmons is an author, isn't that?
Yeah, I'm gonna find him. Sorry, give me a sec.
Wait, you're talking about the CGI pictures of space,
Yeah,
and
keep going.
All the planets and everything.
Robert Simmons. His name's Robert Simmons, aka he's known as Mr. Blue Marble. Oh. He's the guy who literally made at least one of those famous pictures of Earth that everyone had posters of. Up until like the internet, there was only like 5 pictures of Earth from space, right? Quote unquote space. And this guy, Robert Simmons, is one of the dudes who made one of those. This is no conspiracy theory. That's him.
Is this one of the iPhone wallpapers? Because like the iPhone was real big with having that on the wallpaper. Like the stock wallpaper was the sphere Earth, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't have iPhone. If anyone that has iPhone can confirm that.
Yeah, no. When you got the first iPhone, I believe the preset background was the Earth from space. I could be wrong on that, but I think I remember that was one of the early preset backgrounds for the iPhone.
You think he knows some shit, bro? Look at his face.
Dude, that guy.
Look at that guy's face. Look at him. You think he knows something?
Let's just say I've seen that face before.
Look how
And it was all,
dilated his pupils are, man.
yeah, the last time I've seen that face was on Aleister Crowley. Okay. Let's just say that's
Well,
whatever.
I
We
mean,
won't.
UFO cult. Definitely. I think the Lima is a UFO cult. If we follow that, Scientology is a UFO cult. You know,
Yep.
there's a lot of UFO cults.
Trying to
And
fuck. They're trying to fuck the sky. Trying
well,
to,
here's the thing about NASA, bro, and I wanted to get your opinion on all this
can it-
because this movie, right, plays into the zeitgeist of something that's real big right now, especially with the whole disclosure is coming. They're gonna show us the alien buttholes or whatever it is that people are just stroking it to. But we've already known, or at least believed. I mean, since I was a kid, I've always believed if aliens are biological or not, or they come from another planet or another dimension, whatever, that there is something there. That I've seen a UFO. You've seen a UFO, right?
Mhm.
Can it be explained? Sure. Do I know what it was? No, at the time, no, and I still don't know what it was. But point being that since I was a kid, bro, learning about the Bermuda Triangle and all these other things, Roswell, like I believed in it. So what's the whole point behind it all? Is it some more sinister control thing? Like, what are your thoughts on that agenda? Because it's real big in today's standard where people are like, oh yeah, you see Louis Elizondo and so and blah 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 and the Senate hearings and the White House and all this shit. Like,
Yeah.
where is it all going and what's it all for?
Now, that's a good point. And the first person I think of is Stephen Greer, who just recently, apparently, allegedly, got exposed to the max as being an Israeli operative. You hear that? Licking lips. Yeah. Reptilians need to lick their lips a lot. And sometimes I lick my lips. Okay. I'm conscious of it. I'm sorry.
No, not like this
But
guy though, dude.
yeah, not like this guy.
I got to make a
But
compilation. There are none that exist. So
look at good point. That would be a really, really funny video to do. Stephen Greer lip licking competition or compilation. Sorry. So Stephen Greer, search Stephen Greer
look
Israel.
at this. 8 years ago, bro, is Dr. Stephen Greer alien because he looks like an alien. Even licks his lips. So people have been
Yeah.
noticing this for at least 9 years, bro. 8 years ago.
Yeah.
That's
Search
crazy.
Stephen Greer Israel.
Oh, 1 month ago. Oh, this dude you watching Danny
Yeah.
Jones, bro?
No, haven't, but I just heard it. Heard some scutterbutt, you know.
I think Danny Jones had him on, didn't he?
Yeah, dude, everyone's had Stephen Greer on.
Pretty sure he's had him on. But I mean, I wouldn't again, this whole agenda, right? So it's connected to intelligence. What's the point? Like, what's it all for? Is it
Well,
is it hiding
how
technology we
about
shouldn't
this?
know about, or
Let's
what?
we just gotta, you know what? Old Wolf Florida is gonna give it to you straight, folks.
Okay.
There's no point in sugarcoating it. Okay. I think the UFO agenda, the alien outer space agenda has always been a kind of Israeli intelligence operation. It's the truth. Zechariah Sitchin, Brazilian. Stephen Greer, indirectly linked to Brazil or Israel. Where else can what? How else can you do this? All of these Steven Spielberg movies. Why did Indiana Jones end up going into space too, and all that shit? Steven Spielberg, Brazilian. This movie, extremely, extremely Brazilian. Extremely. Brazil coded. Okay. Brazil coded to the max. Zechariah Sitchin is a materialist. He's taking big, ancient, somewhat religious concepts and boiling them down into materialist sci-fi terminology. This concept came from this instead of understanding this concept came from the stars. This way of thinking came from the stars. It's, oh, this group of people came from the stars. Everything's material and everything has to go from here to there. It's always linear, right? It's never a universal truth. It's never a ever-present truth written in the stars. It's always some ridiculous sci-fi timeline, right? That's what I think the psyop is. A big part of the psyop is turning all these heavenly concepts and heavenly bodies into material places that you can stomp on, stand on. And let's just see the overarching like symbolism and metaphor.
Elon would fall into that camp too, though, right?
When did sci-fi really take off and people start talking about going to the moon and going to Mars? Okay. Really started, I guess, late 1800s, but 1920s, right? When was War of the Worlds? Can you search that? When was War of the Worlds?
That was a big one too. That really injected it into people's.
The first War of the Worlds over the radio. Late 1800s, and it was read over the radio when.
Radio broadcast.
1938. Okay, so feminism was cooking up in the early 20th century. Let's see what happened. And yes, there's the whole suffrage movement and all this, and teens, 20s, 30s, 40s. But where did feminism really take over? Because in the 50s, you had housewives who loved being married, right? Things fell apart in the 20s for a little bit, but I don't know too much about that. I know a little bit about the 50s and the 60s, and I know that women loved living in the home, raising families, right? They had pride in being a feminine woman. And then they shot a fucking rocket onto the moon. They literally R-worded the moon. It was fake. Personally, I think it was fake. But they R-worded the moon with a big giant rocket. And then from that point on, when they planted a flag on the moon, think of the symbolism. What does the moon represent? The moon is the mother archetype. The moon is the mother archetype. So when they conquered the moon and the mother archetype, they conquered the female brain. And they stuck a flag in it. And from then on, you really, really saw the decline of feminine women, of women in the home, taking pride in the home. That's how I see they beeped the moon. And that had a direct effect on the female psyche. That's how I see it. Now, I don't think they actually went to the moon, but it's all symbolic. It's all, Does that make any sense?
Yeah, no, it does make sense. Yeah, so the Apollo 11 moon landing, while celebrated for its technological this is AI, by the way, was also a crucial period for women's contribution to science and engineering. Numerous women played essential roles in the program, including mathematicians, computer scientists, engineering, without whom the mission would not have been possible. But despite facing discrimination and gender stereotypes, these women demonstrated the skills and expertise needed to achieve this landmark achievement. Now, this is okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's some women behind it.
There's some gender bending and gender role, kind of toying with gender roles in this movie. That kind of is a little predictive programming, a little bit soft. What's the word when they kind of desensitize you to a movement before it happens? There's a word for that I'm blanking on. When they slowly put in a little bit of trans people in the movies, slowly and slowly. By the time, 20 years later, everyone's trans in the movie. And everyone's like, how'd we get here? Started off slow in the 80s. A lot of this LGBT stuff.
Well, it's a lot of, in my opinion, it's a small minority, and people are walking on eggshells. You see it especially now with, for example, The Last of Us. I know lost 50% of its viewers in their recent episodes putting, woke shit in there. Again, this whole thing where they're trying to cater to an audience that it's trying to keep everybody happy, but it's like once you open the door for that, you got to make everybody happy. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to open the doors for everybody else if you accept that one thing. Where do you draw the line? Because then that's where you get into the whole, what do they call it? People who are attracted to, it's like, oh, that's
Kids.
a
Yeah.
disability,
Yeah, that's in
right?
this movie.
Let's get into it, bro. We haven't even started the movie yet.
Well, yeah, we went off on some tangents, but July 4th. Oh, let's talk about this. This is what's important. July 4th is in the sign of Cancer. That's where I was trying to get to a point there, but forgive me. Cancer is the sign most associated with alien contact.
Really?
Yep. Now that you wouldn't think that, but Sirius, the star Sirius is in Cancer. Now, what star is Sirius, Juan? What's the nickname?
The Dog Star.
And what's happening at the beginning of this movie?
A Frisbee Dog Championship.
I think this is a direct reference to the Doon Tribe.
Whoa,
And the
dude.
whole dog alien contact cannabis. Get some reefer up in here, people. Okay. Make sure we're sparking up, digesting these synchronicities and such. July 4th is not only America's, birthday, you could say. George Washington's birthday. Yeah, July 4th. No, it's not. It's not it. But July 4th, there's another famous July 4th alien movie called Independence Day.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Right? They always do pick that day, right?
July 4th is a significant day in at least one other major alien movie.
Narco, that's some big brain shit. Was that a Florida reach around, a Floridian reach around, how somebody said in the chat? Or was that actually, you think that there are people who are actually subtly putting this into these movies? And whoever can catch on catches on, because I was wondering what the dog had to do with anything at the beginning of the movie. What a weird thing to go to, a Frisbee Dog Championship.
Yep.
The kid wasn't even in it. Like dog, God backwards, whatever. Like I got that, but then I didn't connect it with what you just connected it with. That's crazy.
we see at the beginning there's a shining disc.
Yes.
The movie starts out with a flying saucer. And that flying saucer we follow like through the Florida, like Fort Lauderdale skyline. And we should reiterate. And by the way, look at all these Brazilian names, people. Okay, there are more Brazilian names, Brazilian names, than any other movie. And keep in mind how many of the Brazilians change their names. This is a very Brazilian movie. Okay, South Florida Special. Okay. The movie starts out with a Frisbee flying, and it's in Fort Lauderdale. So the movie's mainly centered in Fort Lauderdale, but there's a little Miami, there's a little bit of like
Tokyo and all these other places.
And NASA up in Central Florida. But it's mainly Fort Lauderdale. Now, just right off the bat, Fort Lauderdale is known as the gay capital of the East Coast, the San Francisco of the East Coast. It's a fact. Fort Lauderdale. Have you ever heard the nickname for Fort Lauderdale, Juan?
What is it?
If you just swap two letters, you get Fart Lauderdale.
Referred to as a gay capital or a Mecca in Florida, bro?
Yeah. Fart Lauderdale.
Is that why you're down there too, bro, in that area?
I'm an hour away from that. Okay. That
Close enough.
Nothing to do with me. No.
Because wasn't Key West also another one that you mentioned before?
Yep. So Key West is the trans capital of America, particularly the drag queen. At least I heard. I mean, I think I don't.
Yeah, you heard.
I don't know. I think. Double check that. But
oh man. Okay.
Key West is the trans drag queen capital of America. And Fort Lauderdale is the just regular gay capital of not only Florida, but really the East Coast. Asheville isn't that big of a thing anymore. Asheville's just like weird hippie, whatever.
Yikes.
Fort Lauderdale is just like old school gays, you know. That like before the whole LGBT movement, Fort Lauderdale was already known for that.
Not so
And
flamboyant, just a little gay, just a little gay.
And so they're in Fort Lauderdale, and we're at a frisbee dog championship. The movie starts out with a spinning frisbee that's silver, looks like mercury. And that frisbee turns out that it's made to look like a flying saucer. And then the flying saucer turns out to be a frisbee. And then the dog jumps up and catches the frisbee.
Mm-hmm.
That's some, I don't know what you'd call it, symbolism, allegory. You know, that's kind of referencing the Doon Tribe, the dogs, and the connection that dogs have with UFOs, aliens. And the star Sirius being in Cancer, we get the word canine from Cancer because of the Greeks, I believe the Greeks, hearing this story from someone heard this story from the Dogon tribe. And the Greek word cancer or canis is connected to cancer, comes from cancer, just like cannabis does. That's why Anubis, that's why you have the word Anubis in cannabis, the black dog of the underworld. Snoop Dogg, right? Scooby-Doo, Snoopy, Goofy. These are all stoner characters. These are all stoner cartoons. That's the stoner one, right? And the dog is, yeah, whatever. That's really it. We can't go too deep down the Dogon rabbit hole. I don't know too much about it.
And there was also kind of foreshadowing throughout the movie. For example, at the beginning, you thought they were going to see a UFO. Turns out it was a blimp. I don't know if it was a Goodyear blimp, but it was a blimp. And I know we talked about blimps on the last podcast we did last week.
Yeah,
I believe it was, right. And then the fact that we talked about that guy that invented one of the first airplanes in Florida. Wasn't that Fort Lauderdale area around there, right? South Florida. What was his name again?
Who?
The guy with the plane that conspired with the Smithsonian.
Oh yeah, that was George. Fuck, what was his name? George Curtis? Glenn Curtis.
Glenn Curtis, yeah.
Glenn Curtis.
Yeah. So interesting again, another blimp connection. But we went down that whole rabbit hole last week, so check that out if you missed it.
Yeah, that's crazy rabbit hole about the Smithsonian conspiring with this guy. And after the whole scandal got exposed, they were trying to screw over the Wright brothers. After this guy got disgraced, this Glenn Curtis character, he goes down to Florida and makes a big giant airship, airport, skyport, airport. And that was America's #1 airship base for a long time, the 20s, 30s, 40s, until, airships kind of went out of style. But even to this day, you still see the Goodyear blimp. It's like a staple of South Florida, Broward County, Dade County, Palm Beach County, a little bit too. The Goodyear blimp still flies over South Florida. And that Goodyear blimp, I think, it comes from World War II, or it served in World War II, or it's, I believe that's the case. But we'll get to the blimp in a sec. This is the Dogon tribe. Okay. The people with the ball sack masks.
I was going to tell you that's a dick, bro. It does look like that, right?
Yeah. The Dogons are best known for their religious traditions. Come on, how are you not going to... Where are the UFOs at? Circumcision. Oof.
Astronomical beliefs.
Yeah, let's get to that. Starting with the French anthropologist Marcel Griol, however you say that, several authors have claimed that Dogon traditional religion incorporates details about extrasolar astronomical bodies that could not have been discerned from naked eye observation. The idea has entered the New Age and ancient astronaut literature as evidence that extraterrestrials visited Mali in the distant past. Other authors have argued that previous 20th century European visitors to the Dogon are far more plausible source of such information, and dispute whether Griol's account accurately describes Dogon myths at all. Blah, 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 blah. Sudanese star system. Yeah, so they know some sophisticated stuff about the sky. And Sirius being 2-star system, binary star system, things like that.
Yeah, the story goes they knew about the other one, which is a brown dwarf that is naked to the human eye and you can only see it with a telescope, but they knew about it because according to them, right, the Nomos is what they called them, came down and taught them about. You even had David Icke out there, I believe, talking to these guys, and they were talking about reptilians and all these other things, but they had information which you wouldn't be able to get without an actual telescope or have at least some sort of knowledge about it. But according to them, they got it from this Nomos, which is this.
Yeah. People, this type of technology could only have came from the stars.
No, dude, no. So here, let me play devil's advocate, because if we go back to biblical times where they were getting downloads from God and having all these divine revelations, they had that same technology that you're looking at right there, bro. Maybe that's the key.
Here, we're getting a download right now, actually. You know,
maybe that's the key, bro.
We're getting a download right now.
To be disconnected from all the bullshit we're fed every day, technology, the internet, social media. You know, look at that. Just people living in the moment, man.
We make a hut. We make a hut with the poo-poo.
Eating some I've seen in oh, never mind. I'm not gonna make fun of that shit.
We was aliens and shit.
We was the we wasery. We was somebody said we was astrologers. We was astrologers and shit. Oh man. Astrologers. Somebody said we was astrologers.
Now, guys, right. I mean, this is clear evidence that these people had contact.
I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, dude, because spirituality and connecting with God doesn't require any technology. Let's be real. You get what I'm saying? Like, you don't need anything to connect to the source.
Look at the red fez.
Being God. Well,
red fez, that's pretty cool.
You get what I'm saying, though, right?
All right, now we're talking. Their culture's starting to grow on me.
Yeah. And they're super tall, right? Is this the super tall? Damn. That's a thick bitch.
Why she got a beard, dude? Why they put a beard on her? Is that a dude?
Maybe.
What happened, dude? Why is his tits so big? What the fuck?
What? Go back to the description of that one. Go back.
Which SoundCloud rapper is this? That's Lil Sneeze right there. That's Young Banana Head. Young Banana Hat.
Go back real quick to the description of the other photo. It says probably an ancestor figure, like a sculpture, probably they just found these things in the somewhere in their just door of the Hogan box of Sangha village. All right. Anyways, look, he's got a musket. Listen,
He's got his whole family up on the wall.
You, you get what I'm saying, bro. All right. You don't need maybe maybe the answer is dick mask like that, you know?
Such a rich culture.
He's a bald chinian. All right. Anyway, that was another movie, right? Men in Black. The one to infect the zeitgeist with aliens, Among Us, and all these different things, right? That was a big one. Okay, let's get back to the movie real quick.
Toads.
There you go.
So yeah, they're at the dog show or the dog competition. You know, dog frisbee competition. I don't know if those were a normal thing back then, but then all of a sudden you get teased out once with the fake frisbee UFO. It looks like it has that mercury substance, very shiny, and then you realize that's a frisbee, and then the frisbee competition's almost over or whatever. This blimp comes over, blots out the sun, and
Bro, real quick.
casts.
Speaking of rappers, Lil Wayne's dropping the Carter 6 tomorrow. 6 6, yeah. Interesting.
Really, the Carter 6 on 6/6.
Well, and that's funny because my wife had told me about because her job gives her like tickets to concerts and stuff like that. And
Right.
Lil Wayne was on there. She's like, "You want do what?"
Mossad.
No. And she's like, "Lil Wayne is on there. Do you want to go see him?" And I'm like, "He's still doing concerts? Like he's still alive?" And look at this. Somebody in the comments commented. Interesting. Anyway, sorry, you were talking about rappers and just made me pull that up.
Yeah. Well, we get a good blimp shot. You think it's going to be a UFO, you know,
Yes.
and then you realize it's only a blimp. But the noise it makes it's pretty eerie. And they're kind of, I don't know if they're indirectly telling us, hey, blimps are UFOs, you know? Like those were the original UFOs. Maybe they're saying there's not much of a difference between a blimp and a UFO. But maybe there's, soft disclosure of sorts. But South Florida is one of the few places you can regularly see blimps flying around. And the blimps have their whole own conspiracy. And this probably would have, in Scarface, also in the 80s, they rented a blimp for the movie. And the blimp played a big role in the movie. Tony Montana's, the motto for the second half of his life was, or the remainder of his life, he took from a blimp. Can you search up Lou Pearlman real quick? Just so you know, blimps in Florida have kind of a sketchy history.
Who?
Lou Pearlman.
The guy, the fat guy that
Yeah.
that we talked about.
Yeah, we got to talk about him because this blimp might have been rented from him. He rented blimps out to movies and TV commercials.
I forgot how to spell his name, dude. How do you spell his name?
I'll look it up.
Because there's another guy that comes up
I got him.
when I pull up Lou Herman. An American psychologist comes up.
Here it is. Lou Pearlman, Louis J. Pearlman, was an American music manager and scam artist. He was the person behind many successful 1990s boy bands. Having formed and funded the Backstreet Boys after their massive success, he then developed NSYNC. In 2006, he was accused of running one of the largest and longest-running Ponzi schemes in United States history, leaving more than $300 million in debts. After attempting to evade capture, Pearlman was apprehended in Bali, Indonesia, in June of 2007. He pled guilty to conspiracy, money laundering, making false statements during bankruptcy proceedings. In 2008, Pearlman was convicted and sentenced to 25 years in prison. He died in federal custody. Lou Pearlman was born and raised in Queens, New York, the only child of Jazillian parents. Hy Pearlman, who ran a dry cleaning business, and Renee Pearlman, or Renee Pearlman, I don't know, a school lunchroom aide. Yeah, he was getting enough to eat, all right.
Look at that specimen, bro.
He was a first cousin of the musician Art Garfunkel. Hello, darkness, my old friend. That terrible song.
Go up. It
Simon
was
and
300 million. It said.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Jesus.
probably closer to 6 million, but 6 million. Heard there was an extra 6 million on there too.
Yeah, of course.
They say it was. Some people try and say it was 6 million. We all know it was really 300 million. That's all I'm gonna say. But so his cousin was Art Garfunkel, who is also Giselian.
Of course.
So he was involved in all these scams. He leased a blimp to McDonald's. Uh-oh. McDonald's makes an appearance in this movie.
Yes.
But he was headquartered out of Orlando. And he
Look at that
did
MetLife and SeaWorld.
Yeah, he did blimps for MetLife, SeaWorld, and he rented out blimps to commercials and movies too. So there's a good chance if you've seen a blimp in a movie or commercial, could have been his. Now, after the whole blimp thing, he gets into boy bands. And this is the guy who didn't just do Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. He also did O-Town, Orlando. O-Town is Orlando. LFO, Take Five, Natural, and some girl groups. He also had Aaron Carter on his talk about troubled child, performers, entertainers. He's dead. Aaron Carter's dead.
Oh wow.
Yeah, died 3 years ago. Poor guy.
Was he? Oh, he wasn't 33. He was
His
older than that.
his brother was he was age 34, yeah.
Close enough.
Yeah. His brother was in Backstreet Boys. Yeah.
How'd he die?
Drugs, I think.
Yikes. I mean, that guy, the Lou guy, I mean, that
Quote
guy
unquote.
looks.
Drugs.
Yeah, he was. I don't think he was the greatest of guys either. I mean, kind of scummy, probably. If you're.
Yeah, no. All these people were coming from Florida. This guy apparently was abused. All these kids, they were abused. And this Lou Pearlman guy, what he actually was he was almost like the gutter that would catch everything that Disney didn't want. Because he was in Orlando, and he, if Disney turned someone down, he'd say, "Hey, I'll give you a contract," right? And believe it or not, Britney Spears was working with him at one point.
Wow.
She's fried. Aaron Carter, he's dead. This dude in this movie, this kid who is in this Disney movie that we're about to watch, he's not dead, but he went through a rough patch.
Mm-hmm.
And this Lou Pearlman guy, he's like the Dan Schneider of music.
They kind of look similar too, right?
Well, don't be antiseptic.
Wait, is he?
Yeah. Dan Schneider? Yeah. He is. But so whatever. That's the whole. He was one of the big blimp guys in Florida. So what are the odds that there's this whole Tartarian kind of old world conspiracy theory that blimps are like this hidden, advanced, covered up, graceful, wonderful form of transportation? You don't have to go at 300 miles per hour. You're not at that big risk of crashing, at least not like that. You can get on and get off from the top of a building. All these cool things about blimps.
Yeah, naturally, he is confirmed Brazilian.
Giselian.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah, dude. They're frying kids' brains. Let's look at this. All this is Florida. So the Graf Zeppelin came to Florida. That was a German thing. And all these Navy experiments and stuff, they had ones that landed in the water, had hangars in the water. Pretty cool stuff. So yeah, they had to put an airship in the movie. What are the odds that airships, big conspiracy, potential cover up with airships, and then many of the last surviving airships fall into the hands of this Lou Pearlman guy, who's also a boy band guy? What are the odds of this? It's like the Glenn Curtis guy who conspired with the Smithsonian to rip off the Wright brothers. He goes right from doing motorcycle racing and airship stuff and airboats. He goes straight to, oh, now I'm a real estate developer and I own one of the funkiest neighborhoods in South Florida. And that was next to his airship base. So we're going to explain how this all ties in. Okay, the airships tie in significantly because this movie was directly inspired by one of Florida's biggest UFO, one of America's biggest UFO sightings. But let's keep going through the movie. Let's skip along a little bit.
By
That's
the
just
way,
a
NASA is interested in airships too, by the way.
good point.
So,
Yeah.
all right, this is only the first 4 minutes of the movie that we've covered so far.
It's dense. You can keep it moving. It's a beautiful movie. South Florida looked so nice back then in the 80s. Fort Lauderdale. Yeah, almost everyone's Giselian in the movie. Almost everyone.
And they
But the
live right
kid,
on the water, so you know that's an expensive house. They live in a nice neighborhood. So this
yeah.
is where the movie kind of starts, right? This is when the big thing happens. His mom sends him out to go get his brother. And then there's another subtle little you're kind of foreshadowing here where they're like, "Ooh, is it a UFO? You're expecting a UFO." And then he comes around the corner and I believe it's a water tower of sorts.
Hmm.
You see the water tower, but I think this is after they passed that. Anyways, but they were doing that throughout the movie to where you kind of think it's a UFO that's about to come up and it's something else, right? So he's walking through the woods. The dog is kind of, anxious. He's like, "What are you afraid of? A wind or something or other?" And then his brother, I think, scares him and he falls down this ravine or this creek. And I don't know if you noticed, but like the music kind of shifts in the movie. And then that's when the whole thing develops where this particular so here he scares him and then he falls down this ravine. Turns out I thought the ravine was a portal, like a gateway, a wormhole,
Yeah.
but no, it turns out he was abducted by
Hmm.
the Galilean ship, the
Yeah.
the Galileans, they want to probe you. So because that's another thing about abductions as well, sodomy. Like they're very interested in probing people, and that's like the meme
Yeah.
behind alien abductions. Like, oh, they're gonna probe you.
Yeah. They reference that later on in the movie too.
You know what I mean? So maybe that's part of the agenda of like, hey,
Yeah. I before we get too deep in the movie, I want to say I think this Disney movie, which is aimed at children, is almost like a what to do when you're abducted type of thing. Don't tell your parents. Don't tell anyone. Oh no, they're just gonna, bother you and make it really hard for you. No, just stay in the UFO, enjoy yourself, go on the ride. Comply, comply, comply. Compliance. You hear
yes,
how much that's repeated? You hear how much that subtle brainwashing is repeated in the movie? Later on in the movie, the kid gets into the UFO, and the UFO every so often says compliance, compliance, compliance. And it's saying it as if it's complying with commands given to it, but we know better than that. There could be some deeper, get out hypnotism going on with that. But we'll get to that part. Right now, like Juan said, he's on his own. He falls into this ravine. Interesting, there's not many ravines in Florida. I don't know if this was a real spot. But he falls down, and I thought the same thing, Juan, that what's up with the portal? Can you go to my
mhm.
El Portal video, please, on YouTube? Or yeah, I'll pull it up.
Here I got it. And this is interesting because we've talked about this before, and I wasn't able to find the game until after the fact. But yeah, I got the video up. I
Thanks.
wasn't able to find the name of this particular game because Disney. Here, I'll talk about it after this. Here it is, right here.
Yeah, good point. That screenshot's perfect. So I've got a like a documentary video about a neighborhood in Miami. It's a suburb of Miami called El Portal. It's a portal, or at least that's kind of what we took away from it all, what we deduced. But El Portal is the name of this neighborhood, the suburb, and in the suburb there's a neighborhood called Sherwood Forest, and there's a mound in the Sherwood Forest, and there's a cul-de-sac that goes around the mound. There's 500-year-old oak trees in that Sherwood Forest. Big oak trees. Doesn't really look like Miami because there's a ton of elevation. It's like built up into like a big hill, and the mound's at the top of the hill. Now, this is one of the few places in Florida that there's a cave. It's not a long cave. It's more of a grotto, but it's like a room. It's like a full room, like maybe 5 feet, maybe 6 feet tall. I don't think I could stand up in there. I think it might be closer to like 5 feet, but 6 feet wide, 6 feet across. You could fit like 4 or 5 people in there, no problem. And that was there when the Spanish got here. It's old. And there used to be shamans that practiced there and did all this stuff. They say the house is like haunted with an Indian spirit and all this stuff. Well, the cave goes underneath the Indian mound. That's what's unique about it. That's why there's a cave. You can't really dig down beneath the ground in Florida. But when there's a big mound, they dug the cave into the mound. And that's not too well known in Miami. My video kind of helped spread the word on that. But
The guy sold it too, right? He moved out.
Yep, the guy sold the house. Someone else is moving there. Someone else moved in. Apparently, they are like-minded.
Mossad?
No, they're like-minded.
Oh,
They're like a shaman and a sound healer or something like that. But they'll take good care of it. And that's not north of Miami, but on the north side of Miami. And pretty much in the backyard of where this movie's filmed. So the only place that I thought of where you fall down, you go down and like shift dimensions, shift timelines. There's the El Portal. There's also a place in downtown Miami called the Well of Ancient Mysteries. Well of Ancient Mysteries. And the Well of Ancient Mysteries is another place that people claim is a portal. I've got a video on that too. The Well of Ancient Mysteries.
So,
and
my bad. Go ahead.
That place is significant because there's water. It's one of the few places that water comes to the surface near Miami. It's right downtown. And Flagler built his railroad right next to it, probably because there was water there. But that spot, this guy got booted out by the government, or they convinced his family to sell the property behind his back to make an agreement. And this guy, it's like the movie Up. If you've ever seen the movie Up, another child abduction movie. You know, what's with Disney and the child abduction movies, right? The movie Up, where a little kid goes in a flying house ride with an older guy. Basically, that kind of, I don't know if it's like a trope or whatever, if that's the right word for it, but it's kind of like a cliche where an old guy won't sell his house, so the whole city kind of develops around him, right? You see that in Miami a couple times. There's two famous cases. There's places where they built highways around people's houses. I'm not selling. You can't try and offer them millions and millions of dollars. They won't sell. This guy turned down millions of dollars. His family took the deal behind his back, kicked him out. And there's an old documentary of him explaining the significance of the house. And he says portal. He says it's a portal, Stargate. He says he has UFO encounters over the house regularly. It could be some drug-induced UFO encounters. Not discounting
quit
that.
messing around, dude.
But yeah, whatever. So that's part of a little bit of portal energy going on,
So I have another portal connection. This is on Disney property, and we talked about this a little bit ago, and I couldn't find the name of the actual place of the game. But it turns out we've talked about this before because, Disney, this is a Disney movie. They don't buy land that isn't valuable, right? And there's this Discovery Island that was closed 25 years after it was opened. And it's the island occasionally used as a movie filming location, and it's in this movie here, the shipwreck, treasure of Matacumbe, which I've never seen that. That's a Disney movie. I've never seen that before. But anyways, in this island that's been closed for I don't know how many years, since 1999, I believe, they were going to make a replica of this game called Myst. And the game is about a kid who finds a book, and the book teleports him to this other reality, this island where he has to solve puzzles and things of that nature. But they were going to make a replica of it on this Discovery Island. And there have been numerous YouTube videos of people going on this island and getting arrested and getting banned from Disney. There was this one particular guy in 2020 when the whole lockdowns were happening that went on there, and it was like a whole big thing because he was caught there. But people wonder what they're guarding. So like some of the conspiracies are, oh, there's a race of animal that is only there.
A race of animal.
Well, you get what I'm saying.
Careful there. Careful there, Colonel Sanders. Careful there, Papa John.
There's all these conspiracies surrounding why Disney keeps this place on like such high lockdown and tight security. They have cameras all over. It's like, what are they trying to protect? And speaking of wormholes and portals and things of this nature, this place gives me that energy of like portal energy. And I believe every time you go to Magic Kingdom, you pass this island. So when you take the little ferry or whatever it is, you pass it on the right-hand side, and it's sitting there abandoned, but it was going to be turned into this game, which I don't think really has anything to do with Disney. And it's about some kid that gets sucked into another reality, which kind of sort of is along the plot line of this particular movie, except we later learn that he was taken through time, and he becomes, if you really think about it, he becomes a star child. He becomes a moon child, where he's impregnated with what? Well, careful there, dude. Careful. How do I word this?
Too much Disney.
Hold on. He is
Elsagate.
His brain holds information that this particular ship needs, right? He is the navigator. He has all the secrets in his brain, and this ship is supposed to extracts that from his brain. So he literally has a star map inside of his brain. And this ship, I guess, took him through time, then couldn't put him back through time because his fragile body couldn't take it, right? So it wasn't really a wormhole, it was more of like an abduction thing. But the way it worked was, was 8 years in the real world, 2.2 hours for this thing, right? This entity, if you will.
Flip through the movie a little so people can see it, where he falls down, and then he goes back home. He wakes up after falling in this ravine.
So he falls in this ravine.
He thinks it's only been a couple hours or something. He walks back home. And like Juan said, it turns out it's been 8 years. 8 years he's been unconscious somewhere else, right?
He was in space. He was in space, I think.
He was in space. The spaceship was doing the Lord knows what to his body, to his orifices,
Yikes.
putting information into his brain. 8 years? What?
8 years.
Couldn't have been bing bang boom, done over with, back in time for supper.
Well, the way it works is, you know, when you're traveling at light speed and shit, right? That's the way it works. And you know what's also interesting, that
Mhm.
Miami to the Typhonian OTO is known as a power zone. And in the 1990s or 80s, I believe, there was this particular ritual that was done by these occultists. And essentially what it was this guy was trying to induce an alien abduction. And it's called the Kurlaw workings, okay? And this guy was trying to induce a alien abduction, and he did. And essentially what happened was that and this is coming from the book, don't judge me for this. These Lovecraftian entities ran a train on him, okay? And listen, be serious. They impregnated him with a numerical parasite, and he was able to find this code. Dude,
Whoa.
your face just glitched out on camera. It was the weirdest shit ever, bro. That was creepy. He was able to decode the Book of the Law. Is that the big one by Crowley? Is it the
Yeah.
Liber Al?
I don't know.
Anyways, one of Crowley's works, he was able to find some sort of mathematical code, and they wrote a whole book about it. But anyways, again, Miami being this power zone, we had the whole Miami Mall incident that we didn't hear shit about after it happened, where
Yeah.
people were talking about 7-foot aliens or 20-foot alien, whatever it was, but nobody got a video of the inside of it. Nothing else. People were talking about shadow entities and all this crazy shit, and that's right near, again, the Miami Circle and all these different places where, bro, there's some bad juju in that area. Like, think about all the
Yeah.
burial grounds that they put buildings on.
The combination of we're gonna see that UFOs and fireworks kind of go hand in hand.
Mm.
And the fireworks, the recent Miami UFO sighting or alien sighting, it wasn't really a UFO thing. Had to do with fireworks. They blamed it on fireworks.
Well, which one are you talking about?
The Bayfront or Bayside UFO
Oh,
sighting.
that they threw a firework or whatever, and they thought it was gunshots or something.
Yeah, they claimed, oh no, people were just seeing fireworks. There were no giant aliens.
The
And
Causeway Cannibal too. That's another one where a dude ate another dude's face. Bro,
yeah,
Miami's crazy, dog. Like, Miami is a whole nother dimension. Like,
it is.
so yes, that was the Causeway Cannibal in 2012. I remember hearing about that case as a kid. That's crazy. All right, so here he falls down the ravine. He was abducted. They traveled through light speed or something or other, and the way it works, it was 2.5 hours for the alien, for the ship, and then it was 8 years in the real world, quote unquote. And then
Mhm.
he's deposited back into the reality, into the world, into onto Earth, and it was 8 years after. But to him, no time had passed. He had just fallen, gotten up, and
Yeah.
kept going.
Yep. Now he goes all the way home, and his parents moved. They live in a different house. So the people there don't know him, but that's not really important. Let's just skip a little bit more. Skip, skip, skip. Yeah, he doesn't know what's up. The police find out. They realize he's missing, realize it's been 8 years. Take him to his parents' new house, whatever. It's a very, it's a shocking thing to see his parents older than when he left them. But just, okay, so the next scene, this is the next important part. We see a NASA car pull up. I didn't know NASA had their own cars.
I don't think
But
they do they?
they pull up to a apparent UFO crash site. This UFO got tangled up in the power lines. And yeah, there it is. And they say, oh, this is a controlled situation. Only this one guy knows about it. And this one guy who found out about it, look what he has. A black dog, right? The dog seemed to be cued in on the alien stuff, right? And the dog from earlier, the dog in the family has two different colored eyes. Two different
Yes.
colored eyes. What do they call it? Heterochromia or something like that.
Heterosexual. Yep.
The dog's eyes are the only thing hetero in this movie. Okay, let's just say that. But okay, the kid is getting like treatment. They don't know what's up. But go back to that UFO crash for a sec. This whole Miami, Fort Lauderdale UFO crash thing is an indirect reference or partially inspired by the Crestview Elementary School UFO event. If you could pull it up, please. This is the most famous South Florida UFO event. Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't have a wiki on it, but yeah, here it is.
And this was apparently dozens, if not hundreds of people saw it at once. You had a couple dozen kids.
It happened twice, didn't it? Didn't it show up 2 days in a row?
Yeah. And then it showed up on like the anniversary, like a year later or 5 years later or something. But yeah, zoom in on that. Zoom in on the text so we can see it. Yeah, thanks. Although it generated some state media attention at the time, the UFO sighting over Crestview Elementary School in April 1967, an incident with hundreds of witnesses, was largely forgotten about until the internet provided a platform for it in the early 2000s. Many of the witnesses were young children at the time. Now, in the 21st century, and as adults, the event is still clear in many of their minds. All right, let's go down. This is a real thing, people. In fact, what perhaps makes this incident even more intriguing is the very fact that the witnesses were so young at the time of the encounter. The vast majority are still alive today, and now, with an apparent desire among at least some of them to find an explanation for what they saw that spring morning over 50 years ago. Maybe there is still more about this encounter to reach the public arena. The sighting was, as we will look at a little later, part of an apparent wave of sightings over South Florida area at the time. And as we will also look at later, several other similar sightings with similar amounts of witnesses are on record around the world. Before we move on, however, check out the short video below. It is a UFO sighting from 2010 over Crestview, Florida. Wow.
But guess what? Not available anymore, dude.
Oh, damn. Put it in the
Uh-oh.
Wayback Machine.
Well, I don't think it loads videos.
Yeah, it does.
Does it?
Could. Yeah, it can.
2010 Crest. Here, let me see if I can find another video of it. Nope. Get wrecked.
Yes.
Here, well, read some more while I do that. I don't think it does videos, but we'll try it out.
I think it does. Could be wrong. But on the morning of April 6th, 1967, fourth grade student Jonathan, I think his name's Cohen, I could be wrong, while standing in the schoolyard during recess, would notice a strange object hovering over the schoolyard in North Dade County, Miami, Florida. The object was quite away in the distance, but still close enough to see in detail. It was a round, disc-shaped craft which appeared to spin in the air, calmly and controlled. It was at the end of the morning recess, and most of the other children were already inside. Fourth grade teacher, Mr. Robert Apfel, which is German or Yiddish for apple, was busy calling the old straggler in and to their next lesson, one of which was the now enthralled Jonathan. As Apfel walked over to the young boy, Jonathan turned to ask him, while pointing upwards, "What is that?" Both teacher and student could see the metallic craft overhead. Neither knew what it was, and with all the other children now in the school, they were the only two witnesses remaining. As they both looked upwards, the object vanished in a sudden white flash. Standing there for a moment to gather his thoughts, Apfel then ushered Jonathan inside. Although there were several military bases and airports in the vicinity, it wasn't an aerial craft either had seen before. Not at all sure what they had seen, neither expected to see such a sight again. The next day, however, this mysterious craft would return, and it wouldn't be alone.
It
Now,
doesn't load still, bro. It's it comes up with the same thing. Somebody saved it in October 6, 2024, but that's the only time it was captured, and it doesn't come up with anything else. So you go to it, and I can't find anything else on the internet about the 2010 Crestview UFO sighting. Let's see if it plays.
Maybe it got covered up. But go back, just real quick, the airports they're referring to, there's Miami Airport, there's Fort Lauderdale Airport, and then there's the Opa-locka Airport, which was Glenn Curtis, the guy we were talking about earlier, who came down to Miami. He was one of the earliest developers to kind of spread out, move out from downtown Miami. He created Opa-locka, Florida, a very mysterious town with mysterious architecture, a lot of Moorish history, right? It's a real big kind of hotspot for the Moors, the Moorish scientists, and the Shriners and all that. But
we have 666 in the chat, bro. What up?
Illuminati confirmed.
Glenn Curtis also developed Miami Springs and I think Hialeah. So Opa-locka, Hialeah, and Miami Springs, if I'm not mistaken. And he had airships land on his golf courses. He liked to golf. He golfed with Seminole Indians. And one time the Seminole Indians went up in the airship. They were shooting it. They were shooting airships, and they invited the Seminole Indians up to visit them.
Like a cargo cult.
Yeah, so they'd understand what they were and they wouldn't shoot them anymore. But yeah, Glenn Curtis, crazy guy, he started that airport. And he's one of the first guys to start slapping gasoline engines on everything. You know, bicycle, electric bike. You know, there was electric bikes at the same time as there was motorcycles. You know, there was electric carts and electric cars as early as there were gasoline cars.
Yeah, but you can tax one and make more money on one than the other. So
they don't tell you that. But Glenn Curtis was a leading figure in the initiative to turn every single vehicle into a gasoline-powered vehicle. That was one of his life missions, unspoken life missions. Now, when he got disgraced with the whole airplane thing, he goes down to South Florida, develops these neighborhoods in and around Miami, and his airship base is still there to this day. And the school is next to his airport, and they think if this was a government-related thing, like the government was testing some craft, who knows, that airport had to do with it. That's where all those airships used to take off from. That's where the National Socialist, German National Socialist airships would land in Opa-locka, Florida. Also pretty interesting, the Seminole Indians have like the German flag as their flag. Pretty crazy. But so we can't really get into this whole sighting here, but this is probably the most famous Florida UFO sighting. And like it says, hundreds of witnesses. They see it again, and there's now 3 craft. So there's the saucer and there's 2 cigar-shaped objects. And they said they were metallic or whatever. Let's go back to the movie, please.
What do you think this is, though, bro? Like, is this a government like vehicle? Was this like
I don't know.
because or these people are lying? Like because I
Well,
don't.
there's no Wikipedia about it. There's, it's pretty hush hush. Seems like it was pretty well covered up. I would say that the government tried to gaslight everyone, all the witnesses, into thinking that that was a new type of helicopter that
Mm-hmm.
they had never seen. Um, that's highly unlikely. Highly unlikely.
Mm-hmm.
People knew what helicopters were by 1967,
Yeah.
but um, so they tried to gaslight the kids and the teachers and all that. Also, there was a lot of Gisilians at that school. That teacher was Gisilian, to my knowledge. Could have been
Uh-oh.
staged. Who knows? We got a lot to move through, though, and I can't dwell on that for too long.
All right,
But
let's run it.
got the NASA people covering everything up. They keep it all hush hush. They're not going to say anything to the public. The kid's getting studied, and keep moving along, please. His parents are significantly older, and they finally realize, oh, and his younger brother is now his older brother. His younger brother is now his older brother. But let's just talk about the time travel aspect a little bit. Juan, have you ever heard of a guy named John Titor?
No, I didn't know. You told me about him before we started, but yeah, I'll look him up now.
If you would please search up John Titor. John Titor is one of the world's most
This
famous,
guy?
alleged time travelers. And I know this movie's not necessarily a time travel thing. It's more of the speed of time, right? Or the slowing of time, right? But this spaceship does say that it can go back in time. But we haven't met the spaceship yet. But let's learn about John Titor a little bit. Will you read this one?
Yeah. So
Nice.
John Teeter, time travel _0 are pseudonyms used in communications and on internet forums between 1998 and 2001 by an individual claiming to be an American military time traveler from the year 2036. His posts discuss various aspects of time travel and describe future calamitous events, including a global nuclear war that he predicted would take place in 2015. I mean, right off the bat, bro, this guy was fucking wrong. All right. So,
Yeah.
how credible is he or
Well,
not?
well, no, Juan, bro. Are you that dense, bro?
Dude.
We should be thanking this man because he saved us from it.
Oh,
That's
he
the
saved. All
proof.
right. All
That's
right.
the proof he was real the whole time, is that it
All right.
didn't happen.
Listen, here we go. Here
The
we go.
white hats, were in charge the whole time. Okay.
This is where it gets good. The story fascinated internet communities, but the increasing inaccuracy of the predictions and other inconsistencies led many to view it with skepticism and try to discover who created it. A 2009 investigation suggested that the affair was a hoax started by Larry Haber, a Florida entertainment lawyer, or one of his brothers, John Rick Haber or Maury Haber, both of whom have careers in computers and information technology. However, the Habers and other suspects have denied these reports, and no one has publicly claimed to be the originator of the Teeter posts. All right. That's interesting, bro. Florida is already thrown in there.
You'd really never heard of him before?
I've never heard of this thing, dude.
Bro, didn't you do Esoteric Florida for like a year?
Yeah,
Before
and
I
I never stumbled across this.
whatever. Yeah. I've never really covered it because it's not like my thing. And, a lot of people say it's a hoax. And I don't really believe in time travel. But let's just look at the last name Haber real quick. Okay. Is that a Gisilian name? Larry's
Is it?
often, yep, Maury, Larry, often Gisilian names. Look up Larry Haber. Larry Haber, the lawyer. Sounds Gisilian to me.
Well, what's up with all this Gisilian stuff, bro? Like, it's
There.
always this guy.
Yeah, he's Brazilian.
This guy.
Yeah, he's Brazilian. He's Gisilian.
Altamont. He's nearby, bro. I'm gonna go pay him a visit. Be like, hey, dude, did you time travel? Was that you? Larry? Is that him? Florida bar? I mean, I think that's him.
Yeah, that's got to be him. Entertainment lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's John Teeter. Look at him. He looks like Biff, dude. Look at him. Go look at him. He kind of does look a little bit like Biff, a little bit like Trump. He's got a little bit of that time travel riz on his face.
Oh, he does a podcast too? Okay.
Does he?
Oh, he was on a podcast episode of 127, the Tiberius show.
Oh, that's weird.
Look at this fucking guy. Oh my god.
Lizard. Ooh.
All right. So
Is
anyway,
that his brother?
Yeah, let's see.
Cool. Where's Maury Haber? Let's look at his face.
Let's go back and see if this pulls anything up. All right, let's see.
Oh, he's weird. He dresses weird. Yeah, he's Brazilian too. That's right. Damn.
Well, I don't know if
Maury. Oh, Rick. I don't know about. Search Maury. Morrey. Yeah.
I don't know if these people are the right people though, dude.
I'm pretty sure that those two are brothers, and that's who we're talking about.
Oh, because he said technology, right? That they were into the IT.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be this guy.
I think that's them.
They kind of look alike, yeah. Right?
Yep. Now, the John Teeter thing, clearly somewhat inspired by Terminator, right? John Teeter, Sean Connor, right?
Yes.
Yeah, go back to the John Teeter, please. Yeah, go down. Let's see what else. Oh,
So-
he's talking to Art Bell.
Yeah, again, another one of these guys that is into like weird stuff, paranormal, aliens. Teeter first appeared on July 29, 1998, and sent 2 faxes to Art Bell, the host of the popular paranormal focused radio show Coast to Coast AM. The 2 faxes told the story of the discovery of time travel in 2034 and the devastation that followed the Y2K disaster. That was 1998. Y2K, we know that was a whole big nothing burger. 2015, also nothing burger. This guy's track record is not the greatest. And I've seen other people on, I think on TikTok as well, saying that they were also sort of time travelers. I've seen a lot of those around. Because, I mean, think about it, bro. You can make anything up. You can say any crazy shit. And some people are going to believe you. That's how cults start, right? Like, that's a whole premise of a cult. Hey, if we don't chop our nuts off, the alien spaceship behind the moon is going to come around and zap us or whatever it is, right? Like, wasn't that the whole thing behind the...
Isn't that Archaics?
Is he claiming UFO stuff now?
Isn't that David Icke?
I don't know, but that was one of the gold. What was the one that they chopped their nuts off?
Oh, is that the I forget. I don't know.
It's called Gold something. Heaven's Gate. Heaven's Gate. I thought they made them cut their nuts off.
Well, let's keep going through the movie. We need to cover some more ground. Taking too much time with this. We got the time travel thing, John Teeter. You know, also Donald Trump, of course, the whole Donald Trump time traveling narrative, him being in Florida. Potential rabbit hole there.
Was the vice president also from Florida?
No.
What was his name?
Pence.
JD Vance. Pence was in that book, the Baron Trump's Great Adventures or whatever it was called. Yeah. Marvelous Journey.
Well, keep going. His younger brother's his older brother. His family doesn't know what's up, but NASA has the UFO. They take it into their headquarters, their little Area 51 in Florida. And yeah, keep moving along. They still don't know what's up with the kid. But Okay, so NASA's looking at it, and they say that there's no way in or out of the UFO, so it morphs. And we're kind of given the impression it's like a Mercury device, right? The way that the hard metal just kind of softens and the door opens up later on. There's no seams or doors in the craft. It's just like a metallic mass.
He starts speaking to, like, his brain is emitting a certain frequency, and he starts communicating with the computers in binary code, and that's how they're able to find out about the UFO, because he kind of forms a UFO on the
Mhm.
screen,
Right.
and that's where they link it right there.
That seems pretty strongly connected to what you were talking about about the OTO catching a mind virus or number virus. What was that? Number.
Numerical parasite is what I call it.
That's kind of what's going on right here in this kid's head. Apparently, the UFO abducted him, filled his head full of this like intergalactic information,
A star map, yeah.
drops him back off, but gets stuck in the power lines on the way back or something like that. And the UFO loses its information, and the information's stuck in the kid's head. So he's transmitting to these computers, and the NASA scientists are like, whoa, whoa. And remember, this is the 80s. Like, no one had even like you fucking like seen a like computer screen yet. This is all like cutting edge technology. But keep moving along on, please.
And think about it, that's what a lot of these people suspect they are, right? Like, they're part of these rituals or whatever it is to be moon children or homunculus or whatever it is, and that they do all these rituals to impregnate them with some elemental spirit or some entity or something. And that is directly tied to Nickelodeon, Disney, where they take all these child actors and they mold them and they breed them to be in this environment, and all the while they're doing this sort of stuff to them.
Yep.
Right, they're abusing them in certain ways, which is part of the sex magic. I mean, that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
So they're
The common thread between all of this is
abuse, yeah.
butt stuff between
Yeah.
the OTO, between the
I mean, look at NASA, bro.
airship.
The founder of NASA, right? Or JPL, Jack Parsons, and L. Ron Hubbard. What were they doing in the desert together?
Banging.
They were stroking
Magic.
it and cooming on parchment, trying to summon the Whore of Babylon in 1940, whatever it was. Right, and some people believe that they opened up a rift in space and time and let the UFOs in.
Dude, let's talk about his name. We went really far in without talking about his name. The main character's name. Fuck, we're an hour and a half in. Should have said this at the beginning. The main character's name is David Scott Freeman. David Scott Freeman. Now, I hope everyone's limbered up tonight because we're going to be doing a little stretching here.
A little reach around.
But Juan, you tell me if this is a stretch. Okay.
All right, go ahead. I'll tell you.
You tell me if this is a stretch. Because we know this movie's encoded with a bunch already. David Scott Freeman. Now, when I see Freeman, I think of slave, like slavery. Just got freed. Morgan Freeman, you just got freed. Yep, some people beat me to it. Yep. Scott Freeman, though, when I see Freeman, I think Freemason. Freemason. Scott Freeman, Scottish Freemason, Scottish Rite Freemasonry. Is that a stretch, Juan? Now, what about the fact that Solomon, who is considered the grandfather and originator of Freemasonry, is the son of David? So we have David Freeman, and all we did was they took the son out of his name. David the Scottish Freemason. I don't know.
I mean, makes a good point. I'd be interested to go back into the scenes to see if we see any Masonic paraphernalia on his dad's wall. Like something other, because they usually hide that in there.
Good comment right here. Got away scot free. Scot-free, right? It's an expression. But who knows? Maybe something to that name, maybe not. But I have some notes here. Twisted Sister. One of the first things he notices when he gets out is, well, keep going.
Illuminati confirmed.
People are asking for the button. Sorry.
We'll get to the Twisted Sister in a sec. Keep moving along the movie, please. So they make him. This is almost like a NASA
transformer too.
Yeah,
Transformer.
The parents just agreed to hand over their kid to NASA. Now they needed the kid's consent, but it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy to pursue. I mean, it wasn't hard to persuade him, right? And this is kind of like a reference to 2001: Space Odyssey, where at the end of the movie, Stanley Kubrick calls the set towards the end of the movie a human enclosure.
Yeah.
That the aliens or the galactic space energy, the mysterious cloud of consciousness in this universe that kind of takes over the AI technology and the spaceship and the people at the end of 2001: A Space Odyssey. They take the main character, the protagonist, and this weird interdimensional alien force puts him into a human enclosure. So it looks like a really, really nice bedroom with like really nice stuff, but something's just off. Right? The walls are just not, it's like rendered. It's like almost computer generated. And they gave him everything they thought a human would need. So he's got like a little bedside table. I don't know if he's got a TV, but and there's just something so cold and sterile. And you kind of think of like humans putting animals in zoos, right? Like, oh, he's got his little pond over there. He's got his little beach ball. He's fine, right? The aliens, it's like us with an animal. We know what do you enclose an animal in to keep them quote unquote happy? Can you keep them happy? So at the end of 2001: A Space Odyssey, this guy's in a human enclosure with all the things the alien thinks will make him happy, but it doesn't. It's like an eternity in like, a prison, but whatever.
And this is, it gives me like, when the whole Neverland Ranch thing came out where these parents were just giving their kid to a grown man. And it's like, I didn't know what was happening. They were just having a sleepover. I didn't know what was happening. It's like, bro, what? Who in their right state of mind would do something like that? And then when something did happen, I didn't expect that to happen. You give your kid to a grown ass man.
Hey, this is a good comment here. And Juan, just real quick, I'm a Michael Jackson truther, so ease up on that, okay? He got framed.
Oh my!
Well, hang on, we'll get to that later. We'll get to that later. Oscar commented, "Does anyone know what the HAL 9000 or HAL stands for in 2001?" I don't know specifically, but I know that HAL is inspired by IBM. So hang on, IBM was HAL. You move them all one letter. HIABLM. HAL is IBM, just one letter shifted. IBM is headquartered in Boca Raton, Florida during the 80s and 90s. I don't know when they left, but IBM was headquartered in Boca Raton, Florida, which is just north of Fort Lauderdale, where this movie shot. So the computer technology, they were like the leading computer people in the 70s and 80s. IBM, right? The world's first some advancement in personal computers was made from Boca Raton. And this movie doesn't really get into that, but you see all the computer tech, right?
The
all
AI.
This stuff, the AI, all this stuff was cutting edge for the 80s.
Maybe they're predicting or they were foreshadowing that the AI is the alien. You know what I'm saying? Like they open up that, which we've seen this time and time again. Like if you look at like people like Geordie Rose, however you say his name, from D-Wave Quantum Computing, they talk about that they're opening the floodgates essentially for these entities to come through that just exchange information, with them, but that they can just squish us like an ant, essentially is what he says. And I thought hell meant simulation and Coptic, but I don't know if that's right or not.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean that's very similar premise where there's an AI taking over the computer or the ship, right? That's what happened in 2001.
And just that point about the human enclosure, that's what NASA kind of did for him before he got there, was they filled his room full of toys, right? Trying to convince him to stay there as long as he can, right? Well, let's right here is where it gets dark, folks. Okay. He's at NASA. Go back to where he meets the girl. Go back a little bit. Yeah, right there. Yeah, let's look at her. One more to the right. Right there. Okay. All right, folks.
Here you go.
Right, folks.
Here we go.
Everyone put on their thinking hat, okay? And everyone put on their goy goggles, okay? Put on your how would I say this? You guys tell me, is this a man or a woman? That's Sarah Jessica Parker. Now, I know she might look like me a little bit. I might look like her a little bit. But because she's got a horse face, believe me. Okay.
Yeah.
Sarah Jessica Parker.
Oh yeah.
Just don't let any of the work they've done on that fool you, folks. Okay. The Sex in the City, psyop, ruined the female brain.
Yes.
Sex in the City. Her people, her type, her tribe. Sarah Jessica Parker is foul. I can't stand her. I think she's disgusting looking. Can't stand her personality. But she is like the NASA nurse. She's like this kid.
This fucking guy.
Yep. Sorry, bud. Look.
Hey, bro, you might be gay. I'm just kidding.
You guys tell me. Okay. I've always thought this. I've always thought something's off about her. The jaw is huge. Long. She just looks mannish. Now, she's a good one. I'll give him that. They made her look pretty good, pretty feminine. But she still just has this lizard quality about her. Yeah, the hands, you never really see her shoulders too much. She's not much of a shoulder girl, right? If you see you rarely see her shoulders. Sarah Jessica Parker is one of the ones that I do think she is trans. She's a secret trans.
They did have the Transformers toy in the room with them, so
what?
He had a Transformers toy in
Shut
the
up.
room. Bro, I pointed it out. Listen when I talk.
Sorry.
When he first comes into the room, they have all the toys, right?
Yeah.
And
go ahead. Sorry.
One of the main toys right there is it's in the room when she comes in also, because she comes in after
Ralph. She's Ralphing. He was Ralphing off.
Right here. Boom. Transformers.
Damn. Okay, so that's the first direct trans reference. Transformer. Now, one of her first lines in the movie, and it's just weird. What is she doing with this kid? She's like on his side for some reason. She like really likes him. But right now we don't know how much she likes him. We find out later. Basically, she's tending to his needs. She's serving his food that comes out of a robot. And Sarah Jessica Parker, one of the first things she says is she has this like purple clump in her hair.
Yeah.
And the kid's like, "Hey, what's up with your hair?" She's like, "Oh, sorry, I was at a concert last night." And I forget what if this is the only band that was mentioned, but she goes, Twisted Sister, where's that? She says, Twisted
Yeah.
Sister. She says, "Oh, I was at a Twisted Sister concert." And he says something like, "Who's that? You know, that's a girl." And she goes, "No, it's actually a them." It's actually, she goes word for word, "It's actually a them." Now look at Twisted Sister. Yeah. Tell me that's not the trans agenda in the flesh.
Were they though? Were they, or were
working-
they just like, because if you look at like Kiss or like any of those, they're
Yeah.
kind of, you know,
That's the
with the
look, though.
hair.
They're pushing it. And Twisted Sister, like twisted, shifted, shuffled, changed, transitioned, twisted. I don't know. Twisted Sister, though, the dude's wearing makeup, the whole hair metal thing. This was the 80s, granted, but it's a drag queen band, dude.
That's kind of sus, bro.
She goes, and she looks like him. She looks like one of them.
Yeah.
Sarah Jessica Parker looks like them dressed up in the band. She looks like a drag queen. And she goes, "Twisted Sister, it's not a girl. It's actually a them. Like it's a band, but it's a them. Like a gender neutral, right?" In the 80s, though, you never heard that stuff. Now, he goes, "Twisted Sister." Oh, she goes, "Bee Gees." They talk about Twisted Sister and Bee Gees. So Twisted Sister is the band that looks most like girls. Bee Gees are the band that sounds most like girls. Now you can tell by the weather. All falsetto. Three dudes singing, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah." All singing super high. Really cringe. Now the Bee Gees are banging, I'm not gonna lie. Twisted Sister sucks. Twisted Sister blows. The Bee Gees are pretty fire, not gonna lie. But that's also doubled up E's, Bee Gees, 33.
Uh-oh.
Illuminati confirmed.
But it doesn't matter. Moving forward. The two bands that get brought up are the Twisted Sister and the Bee Gees. And
Someone said you hit that note well.
the kid asks for the Big Mac and Coke. He asks for a Big Mac and Coke. She's like, "You need anything? Can I get you anything?" And he says, "I want a Big Mac and Coke." Also, I noticed he puts on a NASA black hat. Ever heard of the white hats? The black hats? The whole QAnon theory about the white hats being the good forces behind the shadow government and the black hats being the bad guys behind the shadow government. Well, NASA, the kid's wearing a black NASA hat, right? So who knows? Maybe a little QAnon prophecy going on. And all right, keep moving forward. They're trying to coax the kid into helping them as much as he can.
I'm looking at this thing
Okay,
right
here. Let's talk about the guy's name. This doctor, his name is Dr. Faraday. Faraday, very uncommon last name. And the guy's Gisilian, the actor's Gisilian. The character's Gisilian. Clearly. He's mouth breathing all over the place. But and he's spending a lot of time with his kid. But his name is Faraday. So can you search Faraday, please? Dr. Faraday. I forget their first names, but the character having the last name Faraday is a reference to the doctor.
This?
Or the inventor, yeah. Michael Faraday. No. Yeah, Michael Faraday.
This guy?
Yeah, Michael Faraday. Search Michael Faraday. You've ever heard of a Faraday cage?
Yeah.
Faraday bag?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this is him, but that's where the word comes from. Yeah, so the term Faraday bag is named after Michael Faraday,
Yeah, this is the guy.
the British scientist who made fundamental contributions to electromagnetism. Faraday cages, the broader concept on which Faraday bags are based, were first constructed and experimented with by Michael Faraday in the 1830s. He used metal foil to line a room and demonstrated that
Tinfoil hat.
that electrical charges only resided on the exterior of a conductor. This led to the understanding that an enclosure made of conductive material could shield its interior from external electromagnetic fields. Faraday bags are effectively portable Faraday cages, designed to protect electronic devices from electromagnetic interference. So that's interesting. You know, a lot of truthers like to use Faraday bags and stuff. They named kind of the antagonist, not really. The lead scientist or whatever. His name's Faraday. So let's keep moving. Also, they want to know how he didn't age. So there's a little bit of a fountain of youth element to this. They don't know how he went 8 years without aging. And they really exaggerate how old his parents got in those 8 years. But they don't know how he stayed young. So, you know, Florida was discovered in pursuit of the fountain of youth. Over 500 years ago, 1513, Florida was quote unquote discovered by Juan Ponce de Leon when he was in search of the fountain of youth. And I've done a bunch of videos on that, so we won't focus on that too much. But let's keep looking at the movie. I've got some more good stuff.
Yeah, I got the banger for you here. The one that people like to focus on a lot. Boom.
What?
The symbol.
Oh, the G?
Yeah,
or the PDF file.
Yeah, the little swirl that people
Yeah.
like to talk about when it comes to this whole Q and anon.
Yep, in a triangle too. Crazy. There's another scene where it's a little bit more up close, but yeah, Juan makes a good point. The staircase leading up to the UFO is kind of like engraved with a spiral G shape contained within a triangle. Now, if you're familiar with like the whole Pizzagate rabbit hole, the spiral G inside of a triangle is PDF file code. Yeah. You guys know what we're talking about. So it's almost like you're walking into the space. It's like you're walking down the red carpet in their mind. Yes, just get in the UFO and then we got him, right? It's almost like that's the way they're thinking. Like, follow the yellow brick road into the, wonderful, mysterious thing. And they've got their agenda written. They're right. It's almost like it's like inviting a vampire into your home. You saw what was written on the stairs, not written on the wall, but written on the stairs, and you still walked in, right? I think there might be something to that. But good point, Juan. Yeah, there's a spiral G on the staircase. Yep. Yeah, zoom in on that.
So the one that they say is That one there upside down. You know, again, this a little schizo, but
No, it's you're on the money. Go a little forward in the movie. They show the stairs closer
in what part?
when he's climbing up.
Yeah, I don't want to play it on air.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was one of the big ones people were commenting about. And then, right, when you see they get kind of weird. The whole thing is weird. One of the deleted scenes that I was researching, you know, when he's presenting to him all the aliens that he collected or whatever, all the specimens of these different places, and one of them has a cold, and it's like a worm-looking thing,
Yeah,
but
the
covered in mucus.
bottle of jizz. Yeah.
Well, it was supposed to be a thing, and it wasn't going to be mucus. It was going to be something else. According to the video I was watching,
Like a phallus?
it was going to be a dick, and the mucus was going to be jizz, bro.
What?
And they did, yeah. Let me find that, and I'll confirm it. But that's what the guy was saying, of like top 10 things you didn't know about a flight of the Navigator.
Well, yeah. So the kid gets into the spaceship. He steps on the G staircase, spiral G staircase. Yeah. And the scientists are pissed. The NASA people are pissed. They chase him, right? They try and catch him, but he takes off in the UFO. Do you see that G? Could you see a closer picture?
No, I couldn't. I was playing it, and it didn't pull up on it.
All right. Well, there's G, the G's that Juan was talking about. If you see the movie yourself, you'll see. So the spaceship starts talking to him, and we realize there's like an AI, you know, thing, AI computer controlling this UFO. It's like semi-conscious, and it's talking to him in this kind of sophisticated, like alien voice, right? Computer voice. And every time he gives a command, the thing says compliance, and then it does what he says. Now, like we were saying earlier, is this like a subtle hypnotism? Hypnotizing the kids, persuading the kids, influencing the kids to comply with everything that goes on in the spaceship? Compliance, compliance, compliance. Or is Disney trying to tell the kids they need to comply once they're sucked up into the spaceship? You know, hey, the spaceship's going to be real fun. Yeah, just get up in there. If you see one come down in your backyard, just go crawl in. It'll be the time of a life. But whatever. All right, keep moving. Keep moving forward, please. He takes off in the spaceship, still has the black NASA hat on. The spaceship takes off. He's kind of figuring out how to fly it and stuff. The spaceship tells him he's the navigator. That's his like job. He's special. He was selected. He's got all this info in his brain. But yeah, and the spaceship flies through the Florida Everglades. And it's flying, and then the kid goes, "Hey, I need to take a leak." And the spaceship drops him off right next.
There.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, good job. The spiral G in the triangle. Well, the kid gets out of the spaceship, and the spaceship stops right next to a bunch of cows. Now, not super interesting, but Florida is the cowboy capital, the place that cowboys first got started in America. The first cows in America, first cattle in America was in Florida, brought to Florida by the Spanish. Now, we don't have too many cattle mutilations in Florida. I think there's only been one. that I've ever heard of. But cattle mutilations, of course, are a big thing outside of Florida, in like the Midwest, Southwest. Really, really big problem. Go look up cattle mutilations, guys. Okay. What's it called? What are the shapes? Dude, I'm blanking on this word. The shapes that UFOs make in cornfields.
Crop circles.
Crop circles are pretty crazy.
Yeah, those are wild.
Cattle mutilations are even more crazy. Okay, you see this weird stuff, like skin being pulled off with no blood. Skin being lasered off a cow with no blood. Every bone, like bones, every bone on the inside of the cow being broken, but nothing on the skin. No bruising. Stuff like that. These weird combinations of injuries. But so interesting, the UFO just stops abruptly next to some cows, lets the kid out. Now, I don't know why Disney felt the need to position the camera as if the bush weren't there, we see this kid's junk. But NASA, or sorry, Disney, NASA, whatever. So we can pretty much see this kid's junk if it weren't for the bush. But what is he peeing on? It's not just that little fern there. It's actually an orange tree. If you could see the color version, yeah, it's an orange tree. So you see the oranges sticking out of this tree. The kid's pissing on golden apples.
Mm-hmm. Also, there is a documentary that came out in 2020 called Life After the Navigator that tells this guy's story and all the stuff that he went through. Apparently, he was part of a bank robbery too, which is crazy. But yeah, you can check that out. Find it somewhere and watch it.
Well, the kid goes back in the ship. And yeah, like Juan said, the actor who plays this kid in the movie, who gets abducted and potentially abused by aliens, UFO, AI technology. In real life, he's had a lot of trouble with drugs, guns, and like Juan said, he robbed a bank, got arrested as part of a bank robbery. And I don't know, he's like 50 years old or something now, but so he gets back in the UFO takes off, and we see some of the other creatures that are in the spaceship, like Juan was talking about. And these are kind of like little homunculuses, aren't they, Juan? Little specimens.
The little creatures, yeah, they're like weird look. I'm trying to find that piece of information, but essentially this thing collects specimens, different species around the galaxy, I guess, to impregnate with information, right? And he asked him like, "Why'd you pick me and my inferior brain? You know, you want the inferior, you want the information from the inferior brain." He goes, "No, I want the superior information from your inferior brain." Like kind of like talking down on him, and that's something that I've always wondered about. You know, even angels and things of this nature, or aliens. It's like if they're so sophisticated and so advanced, why would they need us? If an angel is this interdimensional entity, this all-powerful being, why would it want to mingle with humans, right? I mean, the book of Enoch talks about them being able to smell us and that they don't like the smell of us, you know, being up there when they were showing at least 3 Enoch, when they were showing him around, right? It's like, hey, this angel controls this and this other angel controls that, and this is where this is created. And then at the end of 3 Enoch, he becomes Metatron, like he becomes like this overseer of reality, the lesser Yahweh. And it's like, what do these entities want with us if they're so powerful? You know, if aliens are interdimensional or whatever it is, why would they want to dissect us and look at us? But I mean, we do that to animals that we don't understand. We dissect them. So maybe it's like the circle of life type of thing where a superior race or gotta be careful with that one, a superior entity wants to study the inferior one the same way that we do here in reality when we dissect an animal or a bug or look at something under a microscope, right? Maybe it's to understand it, but again, I never really understood that whole aspect of like angels and aliens, if they are the same thing or not. You know, some people say that aliens are demons. It's
Yeah,
like,
they probably are.
yeah, there's, I mean, there's different aspects to it, but that's just something I've always wondered about.
Reptilians are
Also,
demons. Reptilians are demons. The Pleiadians are Northern European people.
I don't know if this is significant or not, but some of this movie was shot in Norway because the production company was
Yeah.
Norwegian. They were owned by some company over there, so they wanted to shoot in Norway. A lot of the interior spaceship shots, whenever you see the back of the kid's head, it's actually not him, and it's I guess a stunt double or somebody, an actor. And this is the thing I was talking to you about. This worm looking thing that's got a cold, that was supposed to be a phallus, and that was not going to be mucus. It was going to be something else. But again, that's what I heard on this top 10 things you didn't know about the Flight of Navigator movie, or video on the movie earlier today. That's what he said. But I don't know where he picked that up from. I'm still trying to look on the internet for it.
So the UFO thing shows the kid all of its little creatures, and he like puts one of them in his pocket, or he starts playing with one of them.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind. But yeah,
That
keep
one right
going,
there.
keep going. They make a stop somewhere else in Florida. Okay, whatever. So the UFO says that it wants to scan the kid's brain to get all its information back. So the kid lets him do it, and it only takes like a second. It's a quick little thing. But as soon as the UFO scans the kid's brain, okay, remember Juan? It immediately turns the UFO, the AI intelligence, goes from being like a sophisticated white guy, like alien, not alien, but like sci-fi kind of tech voice, to turning into a gay black man, like Islander, like a gay black Islander. Now it's Pee Wee Herman who's voicing it, who was a gay Brazilian born in Florida.
Was he born in Florida?
Yeah, Sarasota, I think.
No,
Paul Rubenfeld. Born Paul Rubenfeld.
it was New
Pee Wee
York.
Herman.
He was arrested
Oh,
for indecent exposure in an adult theater in Sarasota in 1991. What?
oh, he was born in New York? Who was born in Sarasota then?
Somebody, and I saw that earlier. Somebody born in Sarasota. I forgot who that wasn't. That someone. I saw that. But yeah, it was old Pee Wee Herman.
So
Which
he does the voice of the UFO. And when the UFO scans his brain, it totally switches, totally code switches, okay? And it goes from talking like what's the kid's name? David. Hello, David. I need to talk with you. I need the information in your brain. That's like how it talks to start off. As soon as it scans his brain and gets like a dose of like human consciousness, it goes, here, hang on, I got it. It goes like, okay, David, what we doing tonight, boy?
he didn't sound
All
like
right. Yes, it does.
Oh
It's
man.
like, come on, child.
He did the the Pee Wee Herman scream that, I mean, I when I was growing up, I watched Pee Wee Herman a couple times. I didn't know he was this creepy, but I did watch some.
Super.
But
creepy.
again, he gives me Blippy vibes. You ever seen Blippy, dude? You know who that is?
No.
So Blippy is this child content creator, or was, or is. He kind of sold his likeness. What they did is they got a homunculus of him, and they started out with the original Blippy, which was this guy right here. It was this guy, right? It was this guy originally, and now it's this guy. So they took his likeness and I guess he sold it off to Netflix or something. But the original Blippy was actually around on the internet, and he is known for a you remember that trend that was going around, the el terrorista, like dun, 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 you know that you don't see when people were, let me
Nope.
look it up.
No clue.
uh a trend, I guess.
Is it
So
that
when people,
important? Is it that important?
yeah, well, I have to tell you this because I'm already
Okay.
here. But when people would do the Harlem Shake, and they would it would like start off as normal video, and then when the beat would drop, it would like show everybody going crazy.
Oh yeah. Okay, I remember.
So this dude did one, and when the beat dropped, he was shitting into another dude's asshole, right? And this is a guy who is
What?
child entertainer, bro.
The fuck
Yeah.
did you just say?
Yeah, you heard that right, bro.
Dude, I gotta tell you a concert. I gotta tell you a story. Okay. Because I don't think I've ever heard that sentence. I think I've only heard that a sentence like that one time before in my life. I had a friend who was, when I was like 12, I had a friend who went to a Bon Jovi concert with another friend, mutual friend of mine. They came back from the concert, and I vaguely knew some Bon Jovi songs. And I asked them, like, how was the concert? They said that, like, in the tailgate of the like outside the concert in the parking lot, like after party type thing, that they saw at 12 years old, they saw that happen. I'm not going to say it again, but like a performance trick or some weird shit. I don't know how the fuck that happened, but they swore that's what happened at the concert. That's the only thing they remembered from the concert.
Should I play it? Anyway, you guys want to see it?
No.
That's what he's known as.
Bro, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But anyways, point being that these people get put into these like child influencer sort of roles, and meanwhile they got some dark shit in their closet. You know what I'm saying? Like quite literally.
When was the Harlem Shake thing?
The Harlem Shake.
What year was that like took off?
The Harlem Shake trend. So the Harlem Shake meme took an early 2013. So the meme became viral in early February 2013 with thousands of Harlem Shake videos being made.
Okay.
So 2013 around there.
Damn.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep moving. We got to rush through this.
I don't know how we came upon that, but yeah, that's
So the UFO turns into Big Gay Al from South Park. It's like, okay, child, what we gonna do tonight? Mm-hmm. It's just really weird. Total code switch. No, that's not the right term for that, but whatever. So the UFO turns gay and black after scanning the kid's brain. Then it turns Scottish real quick. It goes, it says something like, beam me up, Scotty. Something like that. The UFO does a Scottish accent, so another Scottish reference. And of course, McDonald's is, like a Scottish family. The Scottish Rite, the 33, the golden arches. Oh my God.
I got you.
The golden apples, the oranges. Orange equals 33. One, orange equals 33. Coca-Cola, CC, through 33. This guy's
orange
Big
equals
Al.
33, really?
Yeah, orange in numerology equals 33.
Whoa.
Pythagorean. So this guy's name is Big Al. In South Park, there's Big Gay Al, the big gay boat ride. Big Gay Al in South Park. Big Al here is drinking Coca-Cola, and they ask him for directions. But all right, let's keep moving on. The kid gets in contact with his brother and says, hey, you need a signal from the backyard so that I can find out where home is. And the kid lights off a bunch of fireworks. Now, this happened 40 years ago, but recently we were talking about the Bayfront Miami alien sighting, where on like New Year's Eve or something, it might have been 4th of July, but it was New Year's Eve, there was a ton of a ton of fireworks that night near Bayfront or Bayside.
Yep.
And people claim to have seen giant Nephilim. I don't know if I've ever seen the word Nephilim put on the news before. This was Miami Nephilim, or 9-foot tall Nephilim sighted in Miami Mall.
What?
You don't remember that?
Yeah, but they use Nephilim?
Yeah. People were calling it Nephilim. And now the mainstream kind of media came out and said, oh, it was just smoke from fireworks that was making these shapes appear. You know, like headlights hitting a smoky cloud, right? Yeah, something like that. But that happened like a year ago, 2 years ago. Everyone kind of swept that under the rug. I'm not a big believer in that. I don't think it was anything crazy, but interesting. The combination of fireworks and UFOs and aliens. But the fireworks mark the spot for him to find his way back home. He gets back home. He's about to land. He sees all these cops closing in. He sees his family. They're like, come on, son. Come on, son. You see the spiral G triangle shapes there on the staircase. Disgusting, insidious. And the kid doesn't want to get off. He decides he wants to go back in time to where he started. He doesn't want to live the fast forwarded version of his life. He wants to go back to the original 8 years earlier. The UFO is like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. It might be dangerous. Let's try it. Brings him back, successful. And, you know, what kind of message does that send to kids? You know?
And
Now,
think about
well, just
also,
real quick, he ends up with his family, but the scene before that, he kind of says, bye, family. You know, what's going on with that timeline?
yeah.
Does that family in that timeline, they just never get to see their kid again?
Oof.
You know, you got to think like butterfly effect or something. Like,
Yeah.
did he just walk out on that family and now their life is ruined and he's just living with the other past family as if nothing ever happened? That pain might be real. And that, now I don't believe in dimensions and all this shit, but in the Disney sci-fi mindset, you know, you got to wonder. But he decides to go back in time and leave the current family and go back to the past family. Yeah, so he chooses to go back. He crossing the railroad tracks is kind of like a symbolic thing. And he crosses the railroad tracks
The threshold, yeah.
to start this off. Kind of like the crossroads, the railroad tracks, you know, nothing good happens at the railroad tracks, right? You ever hear that? Drugs, occult magic, murders, you know, things like that. Always you see railroad.
The bright line.
People get hit by railroads. We have a human sacrifice train here in Florida that feeds on the blood of the innocent.
Yes.
It's called the Bright Line. Also, Phalos, the homeland of this like alien craft, it's called Phalos. That might not sound like much, but Phalos it means bright or shining, like Lucifer. And there's no real connection between Phalos and the word Lucifer, but there is between Phalos and Phallus. Hey kid, you want to go to Phallus? Hey kid, get in the UFO. We're going to Phallus. We're going to the star system Phallus. Get in. Don't ask questions. So Phalos. And what else is it close to? Fall. So Lucifer is connected to the word fall, the fallen one. Phallos, Fallon. Jimmy Fallon? Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. This goes deep, people.
Illuminati confirmed.
Jimmy Fallon. Did I get that right? Phelan. Yeah, it's Phelan.
And I could have swore was connected to another like Latin word that sounds the same, which means, like boy lover,
What word's that?
I'm trying to find it.
Philanthropist. Oh, philanthropist.
We have philanthropist, but you
Means
linked that
man lover.
to,
Yeah.
but there was another word that I could have swore was there, but I can't find it. But I wanted to add that, this whole alien abduction agenda can be linked to a lot of this sort of abuse, right? Where if a child tells you I got abducted and went into an alien spaceship,
Right.
it's like you're not gonna believe them. Meanwhile, somebody broke into their room, dressed up as Ronald McDonald or something or other, or Barney or something. And this isn't Fritz Springmeier's work. How to Illuminati mind controlled slave, where they talk about that, where the most unbelievable things do happen to these children, but it's so that when they retell the story, they don't believe them. And some people, he's even said that a lot of the abduction memories people have are implanted there to substitute for what actually happened to them, which was abuse of a certain kind, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And a lot of these people will take children dressed up as different characters. That way, when the child retells a story, Mickey Mouse came into my room at night and he showed me his spaceship. You're like, yeah, little Timmy.
Dude,
Yeah,
that's
settle
true. Yeah.
down. And that's what it's about.
Have you ever heard of the Hampstead case?
No.
Dude, this is like Pizzagate, Elsagate times 1,000. This is like a whole town in England or Britain. Or
Whoa, dude. Yeah, I see that here.
Hampstead case. These two little kids, dude.
Oh, it was an allegation. It's false, bro. It says a series of false allegations in 2014.
No. Oh yeah. What deep research, Juan.
No, dude, hey, it's on Wikipedia, bro. Look at this. It was a series as a
Hampstead
hoax.
You guys, everybody go look up Hampstead case or the Hampstead hoax, whatever. You decide for yourself, people. Look into the videos, watch the interviews. You tell me what's the truth and what's not. The Hampstead hoax is one of the sketchiest, scariest things you've ever seen. It's a nightmare scenario as far as like child trafficking and things like that.
Yeah.
Now, you know what's a big part of that? Do you know that they targeted one of the key points of the Hampstead case is that they target vegetarian children?
Ooh.
Because they like the taste of their more?
Really?
Vegetarian children taste better. And they have more clean energy that they like to harvest.
That's why we got to eat McDonald's and burgers.
No. Hang on,
yeah,
Juan. Hang on, Juan.
Because we get protected
from
these satanic PDF files, bro.
Now, as soon as they do the deed with those kids, do you know what they make them eat?
McDonald's.
Oh,
dude.
They would specifically,
Illuminati confirmed.
They would get vegan kids and feed them McDonald's so that they would have their very first adrena reaction.
Wow.
The McDonald's is what they used to like soften their. It's like if you're a little kid and you have heroin for the first time.
Yeah.
You can like knock you out. But if you give like a little bit, like a diet, like a little half a pain pill to start off, these are terrible topics. We're not endorsing any of this stuff, of course. It goes without saying. But they were, just go look into the Hampstead case yourself. They would intentionally feed the vegan kids McDonald's to kind of prepare them for the satanic rituals that they would do. I'm not making this up, okay? And in fact, it's actually, in a sick way, it's one of the best it's one of the best ways to see how the other side views vegetarianism. Like, it's not a good for the animals or bad for the animals thing. they like the taste of vegetarian children more.
Watch out, Narco. Watch out, dude.
Yeah. Well, look in for it. Look into it yourself. Maybe it was all a hoax. I don't think it was a hoax. I've seen all the interviews, it was like 10 years ago or 8 years ago. I watched all that YouTube stuff. There's interviews of kids. It's one of the few times you can hear actual kids recounting all of those like insanely X-rated horror stories.
Yeah, you can't make that up like as a kid. Like that'd be
No, dude. You couldn't even get a kid to memorize stuff like that. Okay. They wouldn't even understand the concepts. But you know what's sick? You know what's sick about this? One of the biggest kind of evidences the kids were telling the truth was the kids were begging, and the mom of the kids who was on their side, it was the dad, the divorced dad, who was part of a satanic cult. And he was using the kids from his previous marriage. That's all I'm going to say. And the whole town was involved. The kids' school was involved. Their church was involved. And the local like YMCA was involved. Nasty stuff. What else was it? What else was... The kids were able to convince some of law enforcement that they were telling the truth because they could draw all the tattoos and body piercings, all the moles, tattoos, and body piercings of all their teachers, of all the workers in the local like businesses and shit. The kids knew what everyone looked like with their clothes off. You know what I mean? Like how did Epstein and Weinstein get identified?
Mushroom dicks, yeah.
Because they knew the shape of their dicks. It's a real thing. And the kids knew information like that that was damning. Okay, so that's all we'll say about the Hampstead case. But
yikes. Yeah. No, that's
what the fuck, y'all?
That's fucked up.
Yeah, and we denounce all of that. Of course, it's evil. And even though we're talking and making light of some of it, we 100% denounce it. YouTube, just to be clear. Well, I don't know. I don't know, YouTube. You're probably in on this fucking shit, YouTube. You probably are the Hampstead. I don't know.
You're going to get the video taken down, bro. Settle down.
No. YouTube, we love you. We love everyone.
Hey, but that's the whole Elsa stuff that I'm sure you covered. That's these
love
networks.
Love knows no age.
No, shut the fuck up. No.
Kumbaya. Okay?
No, fuck that.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's get out of here, bro. This is a good one. A lot of juicy juice from this. I mean, I would say lesser known movie to me because I'd never seen it, but I enjoyed it. And now after doing this breakdown, I don't know. I feel weird now.
I had a couple of things that we left out. Okay, Sarah Jessica Parker. There's more things that she says that cue you in on the fact that she might be trans. Number one, she says, the kid wants her to help him escape NASA, and she agrees. Why? She's going to lose her job. Why would she agree? Why would she risk that? Because she's literally attracted to the kid and agrees to do him a favor because she's attracted to him. Now, in her mind, she might be thinking he's 8 years older than he really is. You know, like, because in this reality, he's 20 years old in the body of a 12-year-old. Sarah Jessica Parker is turned on by that. Sarah Jessica Parker is like into this kid, and she literally asks him straight up, has any girl ever told you how cute you are? Yeah, you're okay. You're cute. I guess I'll help you escape the NASA facility. So she sneaks him into a robot and helps him get out. And then when he goes off in the UFO and all this shit, Sarah Jessica Parker goes to warn his parents because NASA's lying to his parents. And Sarah Jessica Parker, SJP, goes to his parents' house and gives them the truth. Now, when she tells them the truth, and also Twisted Sister gets brought up again earlier, another time in the movie. So she goes to the parents' house and tells them what's going on with their kid. And, NASA finds out about it and sends their agents to capture her. And she goes, "Do you have a back door?" Like they see the cops coming, and she goes, "Where's your back door? Where's your back door? Show me your back door." Something like that. It's literally like, "Show me your back door."
Yeah, all houses have a back door, so why the fuck would you even ask that?
Yeah. And she gets caught anyway. So she goes out the back door and she gets caught. She's a backdoor
Bandit.
Backdoor woman. Yeah, backdoor bandit. Yeah. And okay. Also, before that scene, I think the robot, when it's doing its gay voice, it goes, "We're closing in on San Francisco." And then they go from San Francisco to Fort Lauderdale. And then you get that scene. So one-way flight from San Francisco to Fort Lauderdale. Pee Wee Herman's narrating this whole thing. Come on, guys. This does not belong in kids stuff. The LGBT stuff needs to be fully separate from the kid. Look at this. Look what I'm doing right now. Okay, the kid stuff needs to be on one side, and the LGBT stuff needs to be in the trash and in a whole nother universe, honestly.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I agree.
that's the last thing. Oh, the alien also brings up 7-Eleven. The alien's like playing dumb on all this stuff, like privacy. I don't know what privacy is. The alien says stuff like that. Like it doesn't understand all these concepts, but it knows what 7-Eleven is.
Yeah.
What's up with that? So I don't know. Who knows?
So what are we doing next for the next breakdown?
Black Sunday?
Want to do Black Sunday?
Is that the one?
That's the one with the blimp.
The blimp? Yeah. Next week, we're going to do Black Sunday, guys. Also, a little bit of an older movie.
1977.
Dan runs alone with $10. Says, "Greetings from Loxahatchee, Florida. Keep up the good work." Thanks, Dan. Nori SS with the $5. "Where was the exact location of the home? I know it's near downtown Fort Lauderdale." I don't know where the home is. It's got to be on the water.
Yeah, it's right next to a fold-up bridge.
Mhm.
So, like, literally right next to it. I haven't really frequented Fort Lauderdale that much to really know much about it, but it's right next to a fold-up bridge if someone can find it.
Right.
Yeah, we'll do this one next week. It's
Yeah.
it involves Mossad and some other stuff.
Yeah, interesting.
FBI, Coast Guard. Let's do it.
Good episode, Juan.
Yes, sir.
Some deep gravy on this one.
Yeah, this one went deep.
A little too deep for comfort. Too close to
Right.
home, too. They should do this type of shit in New Hampshire or something. Leave Florida alone.
It's
But
the true Garden of Eden, bro. There's plenty more where that came from.
found a youth, kid not aging for 8 years. Who knows?
Cocoon like, right? That's the whole thing about Cocoon. Cocoon was in
Yeah,
Florida
yeah.
as well.
Similar to
Aliens, Galians.
Hmm.
So,
Well, guys, thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll see you next Thursday. I might see you Saturday. Might see you Monday, too. But Juan and I will be back together on Thursday. And anything else, Juan? Anything you want to say before we close?
that's it, dude. This was fun. See you on the next one next week. Same time, 9 p.m. Eastern.
Everyone go check out www.tjojp.com. Get subbed up, subscribed, up on the One-on-One podcast if you haven't already. So,
Appreciate it.
peace, everyone. Have a good night.
Later.
Adios.